Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of the Gamut Network. Well, we have a celebrity on the show today, and her name is Hilary, and she is Miss Wheelchair America. And due to the pandemic, we get actually probably another year of her being Miss Wheelchair America. So there's a silver lining. But her story is so interesting, and I can't wait to dig into it. So, Hilary, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
We're equally as excited and grateful to our friend Scott for introducing us. So, thank you, Scott. So, can we start? I believe you were 23. Tell us about what life was like for Hilary before life changed.
Oh, it was rough. It was rough. I was a bartender. I was drinking a lot. That was pretty much my entire life, was living inside of this bar. My world was so small back then. And I wasn't doing any sort of schooling, and I wasn't really doing any sort of advocacy or anything like that. I was playing some rec sports. I did play soccer. I played sand volleyball and stuff like that, which I really enjoyed. But for the most part, I was just drinking, and it was really not a happy time in my life. But there's definitely a silver lining in that.
I love that. And what was it for you? Tell us what happened during that year.
So I had been out drinking with some friends, just like really any other normal night. And we decided that we were going to go over to our friend's house after the bar had closed. And so I had been drinking too much, and I decided I shouldn't drive. So I asked my friend if I could ride with him. His name is Adam. Just so you know, we're still friends. So he won't mind me using his name. But I got in the car with Adam, and he had been drinking also. And we got about 2 blocks away from the bar, and he drove us into a house doing about 50 miles an hour. He suffered some pretty severe injuries. He shattered his elbow and got a really, really large cut on his head from his forehead to the crown. And he was profusely. That was like the scariest part. But I was conscious the whole time. I had no idea how severe my injuries were. I was actually really just concerned about, well, I'm not going to get a DUI because I wasn't driving. Like, just my head was not where it should be at that time. But I do remember just thinking I was so frustrated because the airbags had deployed and I couldn't breathe because of all the fiberglass in the air. And so I got the door open, and my legs immediately didn't work, but I just thought I was in shock. So I got the door open and was hanging out the door. Responders showed up, and they were like, "Were you ejected? How did you end up in this position?" And I was like, I just couldn't breathe, so I thought I could get some fresh air. And they were so I just remember thinking they were so unnecessarily stressed out.
That is so interesting. So probably, as you mentioned, maybe that was your form of shock, that you weren't connecting with the reality of what was really happening.
Yes. And I had been in car accidents before, and it was never this big of a deal. And I had friends who were in car accidents, and, they got away with a broken leg or a broken arm, and they went to the hospital and got it fixed, and they were fine. And so in my head, I was like, oh, they're just going to fix me up and I'm going to go home. It's not going to be a big deal.
When did reality set in?
Honestly, not for a while. Even when they were there, they kept telling me to stay conscious. And I was like, I just really want to close my eyes. And I was like, if I keep talking to you, can I close my eyes? And they were like, yeah, that's fine. And so I just remember singing and spelling my name. And I was just like, my name is Hilary, Hilary. And I was just not understanding any of it. And then they got me to the hospital. I don't really remember being in the ambulance. I think at that point I was kind of out of it. But I woke up in the ER, and there was all these bright lights, and they were cutting off my clothes, and I was so upset that they were cutting off my brand new outfit. So upset. They cut my favorite scarf. And then I heard somebody saying, that's my niece, that's my niece. And I was like, what are you talking about? And my Aunt Michelle was actually a trauma nurse that was taking care of me. And they didn't recognize me at first because I had so much of Adam's blood on my face. So I remember when she was freaking out that I was like, something's not right. She was like, I'm gonna go call your dad. And I was like, it's like 4 a.m. Like, don't call my dad. He's gonna be asleep. He's gonna be so mad that you're waking him up. And like, it's still like, I was just like, what? Like, I wanted to know how bad it was before they called my family. Of course, they called my family anyways.
Yes.
I woke up the next day and I was like, what is going on? And they were like, you're going back into surgery. And then I was back out. So it was really 2 days later when I realized, when I got to like see my family, it was a sobering moment for sure. Everybody was just so solemn and I was like, what is happening? Like, is everybody okay? Did somebody die? Like, why are you looking at me with so much concern? And like, you could tell my mom had been crying, and it was just like really a moment I'll probably never forget.
I would imagine, yes.
But it was at that moment that they brought the doctor in, and he told me like the list. And mind you, at this point in my life, I had never broken a bone ever in my life. And he told me I had broken both my legs, my back in 3 places, broke most of my ribs, punctured a lung, shattered my tailbone, and fractured my neck. And then he told me that because I had broken my back, one of my vertebrae had exploded like shrapnel through my spinal cord, and pieces of it were still lodged in there, and it wasn't safe to remove them. And he said that I had a 17% chance of ever getting out of bed on my own, but I could still have kids. And I was like, thanks. That's what I was worried about in this moment with the kids. It was not. It was definitely not. Still in the moment, I was like, somebody needs to call my boss and tell him I'm not going to be at work. And like, I was just I think that I was just starting to compartmentalize and trying to think like, what can I control right now in this moment? Like, what can I do right now? I ended up staying in the hospital for 2 weeks. At the time of the event, I was uninsured. The driver was uninsured, like no health insurance, no car insurance, no nothing. So they could only keep me for 2 weeks. It was horrendous pain, a lot of frustration, but I was so determined. I was like, I'm going to be okay. I mean, of course, at the time, I was like, I'm going to walk. Like, I'm going to walk.
See that from the second that I met you, that there was anything that they told you probably that you weren't going to be able to do, you probably looked at them and said, well, we'll see about that.
Correct.
So now you're 23. You've had this catastrophic change of life.
Yes.
And now we have a new normal, and probably in some ways a new Hilary.
Yes, a lot of ways.
From this. So take us through, I want to focus specifically on what got you to the place where, not necessarily physically where you are today, but what got you to this positive, effervescent, amazingly bright, beautiful woman that you are today? What helped you get there?
So it took a lot of work. About a year and a half into it, I was drinking every day, I was using drugs, I was in a really, really bad place, mentally and physically. And it was really starting to take its toll. So I reached out to a friend of mine, and I knew that she was doing a 12-step program, and I asked her if she would take me with her. So that night I went to my first AA meeting and I got sober. In February, I celebrated 3 years of sobriety.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How beautiful.
Like, I mean, honestly, I think chalk most of this up to sobriety and the power of being able to talk to other people that have dealt with the same struggles as you. I mean, I think I know it saved my life. I know that it gave me a lot of power back. It made my world so much bigger. Like at the time, it was just like my world was so small, and it was just all about one thing, and that was numbing everything out. And once I had to, go through the steps and realize like that I have to take responsibility for my actions, and I have to like really look at what I've been through and embrace it, like grieve. I had to grieve my past life. And that was so important. That was so important for my healing process. And at that point, it was sort of like I realized that I was always going, like, at least this is how I see it. So this is what helped me, is that I just realized that God, higher power, spirit animal, whatever you believe in, like, I just always believed that I was meant to be in this chair. I feel very that no matter what course of life I would have taken, I would have ended up in it. It's so natural to me now. I am so much more comfortable and confident in who I am. I feel more like myself today than I ever did in 23 years of not being in this chair.
I think that is so, I have got to underline it, because how incredibly powerful is that you've never felt more like yourself than when you were in a chair.
Right.
I love that. I mean, that
it really helps.
Right? So,
yeah.
So what would you say, I often, like with my guests that have had an accident or a change of life like you did, what would you, I believe that there's a, before the accident Hilary, and there's an after the accident Hilary.
Right.
What would you say is the best part of the after accident Hilary?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's hard for me to find anything that's not, to be completely honest. I think my favorite is just the feeling of like comfort in who I am and the confidence to be able to go out and speak in front of people, which is not something I was super comfortable with before. And the fire me to want to advocate and want to create a better world, not just for me and the people that have suffered the same injury as me, but for all people living with disabilities. It really is so cool that I get to have this platform and be able to talk about things that have helped me, and to help people find that strength inside of them as well. I think a lot of people see my platform and they're like, oh, she wants to talk about adaptive sports. That's not for me. And I'm like, it's not really about sports. It's about community. It's about having a team, having those peer mentors that you can reach out on a bad day. Or, I mean, there's been times where I've had to call somebody, one of my teammates, because I was in a uncomfortable predicament, and they had to walk me through how to get myself out of it. It was really, really horrible. I had fallen out of my chair. I was on the floor. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't get a hold of my mom. I live independently. I have since, so I was injured in September and I moved into my own apartment in February. So I've always kind of had this real, like, I'm hard-headed. I want to do everything by myself. And so I end up on the floor and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. I don't know how to get back up. I can't call my mom. Like, I don't know what's going on. And so my teammate walked me through all of it. He was like, all right, like, what do you have around you? Can you reach anything? Can you get on something a little bit taller to get yourself up?
And the community, a community right. Who gives you support. And if there's probably anything that I have learned the most during the interviews and having the gift of hearing other people's stories, how important the community and having support is, and that it literally lifts you up, lifts you out, right. Helps you move forward. And sounds like that was incredibly powerful for you. Now tell us, how did you get involved in Miss Wheelchair America?
So at the time I was involved with, so I play wheelchair tennis, and I really wanted to, I was working really hard because I wanted to go to the Paralympics. And I was kind of in this place as well where I felt like I wasn't doing everything that I could to help other people find their community and find their teammates and those sort of things. And so I started working with United Spinal. From there, I got introduced to Karen Roy, who was Miss Wheelchair America 2019. And it was like a week after she got actually, and she came to Kansas City for an ability summit. She's from Baton Rouge. And they were like, do you want to have lunch with her? And I was like, yes, I do want to have lunch with her. Yes, I do. I was such a fangirl. I was like, oh God, I'm going to be Karen. I was like sweating the whole time. I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to say?
They met you. I'm sure they'll be the same way.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know about that, but she is so impressive. Like you'll have to interview her. She's got an incredible story, but she met me for lunch and she told me all about this program. And she told me that it gives you the opportunity to be an advocate for the things that you want to advocate for. At the time, I was also speaking for a couple of other organizations, and it was always very centered around don't drink and drive, kids, or you'll end up like me. And I was like, ending up like me isn't horrible. Like, I don't want to talk about that. Like, I want to talk about when you do end up this way, how do you move forward? And how do you find the strength in the community? I was just so beat down. I was so beat down, and I was like, I need something. And so after talking to her for an hour, I went home and filled out my application and became the independent delegate for Miss Wheelchair Missouri. I was the first woman from Missouri to represent at nationals for a very long time, and then became the first woman from Missouri to win.
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It's so, first of all, I love so much that you changed the vernacular, right, about your topic of speaking, because as you said, you're the best version of you in your whole life because of this. So to say don't drink and drive or else you'll wind up like me is not, it's counterintuitive. So I love so much that you changed that storyline, because I think that's really important. But also, before we go, I do want to just point out that not only are you Miss Wheelchair America, but you also work for New Mobility. So you have a very full life, a very successful life, which leads me to my last question, actually. I am a big believer, and I have a sense that you are as well, in the vision board and the power of putting your hopes and dreams and wishes or who you want to meet or what you want to do in this lifetime, either on a physical board or in your head or your heart. If we got to look onto Hilary's vision board, what would we see?
Oh my gosh. Probably a lot of stuff.
Good.
I mean, I want to be able to continue to do this. I want to be able to continue my advocacy and really always be true to myself and my vision, and always have that opportunity to speak from my heart. I'm not somebody who can write down speeches. I can't write things down. I can't recite things like that. Every single thing I go into, I speak from the heart. And just to be able to have the ability to do that for the rest of my life would be incredible. And also Macy's Day Parade. I want to be in the Macy's Day Parade so bad.
I love that. That's one of the best ones I've heard so far. Get that on your board immediately, and let's see if we can make that happen.
Yeah. Yes.
Hilary, if people want to get in touch with you to discuss more with you or any opportunities, what's the best way to connect with you?
So I am on Facebook at Miss Wheelchair America 2020. I also have Twitter and Instagram, all under the same. It's at _MWA 2020.
Perfect.
It's also got my email on there. You can probably find my phone number. Whatever it is that I can do to help support other fellow advocates, please let me know. I'm always looking for new opportunities to get involved
Amazing.
and learn new sports. I'm trying to try sled hockey if anybody out there.
Oh my, I love that. I can actually introduce you to some sled hockey
Yeah.
people who absolutely love it, and it's an amazing
Yes.
sport. And I
It
have a
looks so
feeling
hard.
you'll be excellent at it. I just have that feeling. Or you're not going to stop until you do.
Yeah, probably. That's usually what I do.
Thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute delight. You are really, really spectacular, and I love the transformation that you have shown to all of us, that you are your best self, and that is authenticity, and it's vulnerability, and it's beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you. This has been a lot of fun.
Good. If you would like to be on the Gamut Network, please email us at talent@gamutmanagement.com to tell us why you'd be a great guest. Please also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Gamut Network, as well as subscribe to our social handles at Gamut Network. Thank you again. Bye.
Thank you.